felt very humbling to be coached as opposed to me being the coach, in the sense that I feel like, my coach was asking a lot of me and asking me to be honest and vulnerable and reflecting it back. And I was like, wait, that's not what I said. And like
Yeah.
I would correct and pedal back. And I was like, oh, hold on a second here. And I'm a verbal processor. So I will talk. And then sometimes I catch myself saying the things that are the heart, like the truth that hurts, right? I was like, wait, saying that out loud. Yes, I've thought it before, but I've never said it out loud, and just hits you different.
Welcome to the Coachability Code podcast. This is your host, Jordan Ring. Coaches, you ready to be coached? Let's go. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining me on another exciting episode of this podcast. Today, I have Kristina with me. Kristina, if you can introduce yourself briefly for the audience, that would be great. But first of all, thank you so much for being here. I'm so appreciative when people gift me their time for coming on this podcast. So thank you for that. And hopefully the audience is going to enjoy that and appreciate and see it as a gift of your time as well. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation, Jordan. I love gifting my time for causes like this and for such interesting topics. So introducing myself, I'm Kristina Tyler with Flo Fierro. We do leadership identity and team system coaching. What that means is we work with business owners. We've done this all across the globe. I personally have lived in 8 different countries on 3 different continents. So I've had the luxury of working across a bunch of different geographical cultures as well as organizational cultures in terms of sizes. And we work with the owner to get their head on straight as a leader, because that's the number one most important thing in my experience. And that then trickles in to the lead team and the overall culture of the organization, of how it functions as a unit. That's what we do.
Amazing. And I definitely probably have more questions about the traveling and whatnot, because I'm very much into that myself as well. Not as much traveling around anymore with my twins that we just had the end of last year, but
Congratulations.
we'll get back. Thank you. We'll get back to that at some point. But no, that's super cool. I like to start this podcast out with kind of a banger. So if you need time to think about the question, that's totally fine too. Kristina, what's a belief you held early in your coaching career that maybe now you've completely reversed, or you have a slightly different take on, if you could think of anything?
Oh, that's a good one, because I think I have had a little maybe unique or different coaching career, just because I wasn't sure I wanted to be a coach. I didn't wake up and say like, oh, this is what I want to be with my life. It
It's not
was
what you
more
raised your hand in kindergarten and said, "Coach." Like,
Yeah, exactly.
who
No,
would say that, right? Like,
I want to be a vet, actually. But I started in sales, event management. I started my own social media sort of hobby, let's say, before social media was even a thing. So all I had was Facebook, and
Mhm.
nothing was really sticking. So what I ended up deciding is going to do another degree and figuring out. But what my career had in common in all the steps was that I wanted to be involved with groups of people. Like sales has all to do with getting from a no to a yes. Events is transforming a vision into something that actually is executed that matches that vision. So I was like, okay, what can bring everything together? So that's how I got into coaching, along with my business partner and father, who used to be an Olympic level ice hockey coach. He went from coaching sports to coaching business. So we partnered
Amazing.
together. Yeah, thank you. So we partnered together to sort of bring both our strengths together from a different point of view and a different generation. So to answer your question more directly, my belief going from that sort of previous career to a coach was that I thought I had to do all the work and I had to have all the answers. So I went into coaching very solution oriented and trying to get to the outcome. And I learned very quickly that I never thought this, and this wasn't a belief that I'm the smartest in the room. Actually, I prefer when I'm not. But by taking ownership of the solution and the outcome, I was actually robbing people of the opportunity to show how smart they were as my clients. And I was limiting them to my intelligence, which I guess isn't that bad. But I was surprised over and over again at the solutions they came up with when I gave them the space to do that. So that belief got crushed really, really quickly, which I'm happy about today.
Yeah, and I love hearing that, because that is such a common thread that I've heard from a lot of other coaches is, oh, I came in and I wanted to fix people. Like, very quickly said, oh, I had to take a step back and realize it was not like me, not like us that were in charge of that. But I think I mean, I guess I have a follow-up question with that. How have you kind of figured out how to deal with that? Like, you care about your clients, your people, you want them
Yeah.
to succeed, but in my experience and from what other people I've heard too, like, that is difficult. So I'm curious how you've been able to work your way through that, if not mastering it, how you figured out how to handle that enough to, be functional.
Well, it wasn't easy because I had
Mhm.
to practice catching myself. Like, I had to figure out what are my own triggers or what are the situations that I feel the need to do that in. So there was a lot of self reflection, a lot of journaling, which are standard coachy responses.
Mhm.
But I also just learned about myself, like, who am I? And that's why I do leadership identity, because it's so important to understand yourself and the impact you have on others. So, fun fact, I'm the worst poker player ever because I can't lie. My face
Yeah.
will tell you what I'm thinking no matter what. So I was like, why don't I use that as a strength? And I was like, okay, look, client X, I have an answer in my head. I just tell them I have an answer in
Mhm.
my head. I see something so clearly and I want to tell you, but I can't tell. I'm not going to tell you now. I'll tell you at the end of the session if it's still
Mhm.
relevant. So I already tell them, like, this is what I want to do because I see
Mhm.
an answer. And I feel like by being transparent and honest with them, I'm stopping myself from doing it. I'm speaking out loud and saying, "Hey, I want to do it. I'm not going to do it, and it's because I'm your coach that I'm not going to." If we were having a beer, I would totally tell you right away, right?
Yeah.
But that's not what I'm getting paid to do,
Mhm.
right? That's not the value of having a session with me to get my answers. The value is me opening the doors to allow you to see beyond what's holding you back or what's creating the blind spot. So I guess the again, long-winded answer to that is transparency. I really love transparency, and that's how I've been able to control myself best, or have good self-control, let's say, in that
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah, and I love that too because I feel that it it just evidences why it's good for coaches to be like to have the unique approach and to do what works for them, right? Like it doesn't have to be you don't have to do it the way everyone else does it. Like maybe that approach wouldn't work for someone else, but you're like, no, this is me. I've found that it works this way very well for me. I like seeing different coaches have different methods and like, hey, I share with them up front or no, I because other people have said like, no, I really had to take a step back and I won't say anything. But I like that. It sounds like your approach is very unique in that way. I think that's very interesting.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you for the feedback. I do appreciate that because I agree. I think every coach, and I will walk into a room and say, "Hey, there's 20 other coaches here. I want to see
Hmm.
what they do differently, and I want to learn from them, and I want to see what could I be doing better." And if we're all the same, then it doesn't matter which coach you pick. You could just pull a name out of a hat, and then that's your coach. But I don't believe that that's the way it ought to be. Let's say,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about the title you use. So the one I'm seeing on LinkedIn, I think it's similar. I think it's the same one that you mentioned. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but leadership identity and systemic coach, right?
Yeah. Systemic team coach. Yeah. Mhm.
Systemic team coach. Talk to me about how you ended up at that, and then I have some follow-up questions with that too.
All right, so I recently did just update it, full transparency,
Hey, we
because
all do that, right? Like, I've changed
yeah,
mine like multiple times. Blank book coach or this book coach or drop the coach on the end of it. Yeah, we all
yeah,
go through different iterations. So that is completely I would say if people aren't admitting to that, then what are you doing, you know?
on them.
Yeah.
So, okay, how did I get to that? So I feel because I've been in coaching for a while, so pre-COVID, what do you say, BC, before COVID?
Yeah.
Um,
6 years
I
ago now,
feel
7 years
yeah,
ago before
yeah, so
COVID, which just blows my
yeah,
mind a
and
little bit.
3 years on top of that. So even before that, I was 3 years. So I've been in coaching for like 12 years, a good 12
Yep.
years, right? And I feel like there's been so much evolution in what people understand coaching to be. There's the executive coaching, there is there's business coaching, there's sales coaching, there's all the different kinds of coaching that are now evolving over the last decade and a bit. And I often find that when you tell people that you're a coach, they will go to sports coaching, or they'll think it's like a consultant or a mentor. And honestly, those piss me off.
Mm,
So that's the true reason I went to something very different than saying I'm an executive coach or I'm a
mhm,
leadership coach or something that you would hear all the time, because I don't want to be confused with a consultant or a mentor. I want to be very clear that coaching is a skill. It's something that's actually not the easiest thing to do. Having gone through it myself and seen other colleagues of mine navigate being a coach. It takes a lot of skill. It takes a lot of self awareness. It takes a lot of self control and focus to be able to show up in a way that you're truly helping high performing leaders. And for other people to come in and say, oh, I ate an apple yesterday, so now I'm a nutrition coach, right? Like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
feels a little insulting to the effort and work that I've put in. And that's me being very transparent, and no
Mhm,
offense to any other coaches out there, right?
mhm.
Like, I know we're all doing our best. But I wanted to have something that really meant something. Even if it was just to me, it meant something, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the leadership identity to me means something because I've seen all my clients go through it. I've seen that be the most important, like, light bulb moment for them, or Fiero moment, to go to my company name. That moment where you felt like you scored the winning goal. That's the Fiero moment. To me, that's when you fully connect with your identity. When you're like, it just feels like me, and I can be
Mhm,
honest about it. I can fully connect and stand up for myself, and I know exactly where it's coming from and why, and that it matters. So again, long-winded answer,
mhm,
but that's why I went for that name. And the systemic coaching or systemic team coaching is because I feel I don't know if you're familiar with the drama triangle with the hero, villain, victim. And that's a triangulation that happens within an individual, but also within teams. And
mhm.
it usually
Okay.
starts with the victim. So you'll say, "Oh, I'm so tired," or the work's too hard. I don't get it. There's many, many different victim voices. And that will then trigger either a villain or a hero. So either someone will come and be like, "Oh, let me help you," and
Mhm,
they'll take it all away. That's the hero. Or they'll be the villain, go like, "Oh, suck it up, buttercup," right?
mhm,
Just get on with it. Stop complaining. You're fine, or whatever. So those are the triangulations that happen. And that can often lead to a vicious cycle where your culture keeps going further down and further down because that triangulation isn't being fixed. It's being encouraged or enabled through behaviors and what feels the least uncomfortable, let's say.
mhm,
And that leads to what I call the blame game. So instead of saying, like, oh, we didn't deliver for this client, or there's a high turnover rate, or people are burning out, you'll say, well, whose fault is it? And try to find the person to blame for it.
mhm,
But
mhm.
really what's happening is the whole system. Everyone is responsible for the culture under the system. And that's why systemic team coaching, saying, no, no, it's not one person typically. Sometimes it is, right? But very rarely.
Mhm.
It's more about like asking yourself what created this environment and how can we fix the root cause that's underneath all of this to change the behavior and the system itself.
Yeah, and that leads into the next questions. You're kind of already alluding to it there, but my question is, what would you say if you were sitting down with friends at a table? You described your title very well, but what would you say your, like, primary offer is?
Well, I mean, I can describe that in different ways. The first way,
Mhm,
if I'm sitting with my friends, whatever, having dinner, I'm like, first, we need to fix you, then we fix the business, right?
mm, mhm,
Because if you're leading the business and you're showing up in ways that aren't serving the intention of the organization, then that's going to have the ripple effect throughout, right? Because the leaders or the leadership system impacts the whole culture by 70%. So you're having a bad day, guess what? Everyone else is too,
mhm,
right? If you're repeatedly having a bad day, repeatedly saying, "Oh, my door's already always open," but then when someone comes in, you're like, "No, I'm busy, leave," then that's going to have an impact on the culture. So first we need to fix the leader, and then the rest will follow. And that's sort of how our program or primary
mhm.
offer is built. Is I can take you through the second part of the question answer, is
Sure,
that
sure.
we have the programs that we offer, and this is also a newer thing since COVID, because we want it to be a little bit more scalable
Mhm,
and have something that's packaged. We used to be custom all the time because everyone's needs were different, but with so many different coaching offerings coming out, we wanted to really have sort of a bit of an authority position that we
mhm.
were comfortable owning. And that's with our TLC program, which is not Tender Love and Care, but it's transformational leadership coaching. And that's where we really focus on just the leadership identity. I have our own models and tools, and we can get into that another time. But the leadership identity is the first part. And then we go to the ITG, which is in the game coaching. And that's taking that vision, the identity of the leader, and allowing it to expand into the rest of the organization. And that's a 1 to 2 year program.
Yeah, and how would you say that you Was it kind of a longer iterative process to find that? Or talk to me about that a little bit, because I think I'm asking that because some coaches are like, I still don't know what I'm going to do when I grow up, right? Like, if they were totally vulnerable and honest, they would say, I'm not sure what my offer is. But like the way you described your offer there to me was very clear. So what I'm always asking people, like, hey, that's fantastic. Do you have that clarity? How did you arrive at that?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the honest and simple answer to this is by making mistakes over and over again to where
Mm,
like, okay, this is what this mistake keeps trying to tell me, right? But to put it in terms that other people might be able to relate, it's easy to say that, but a relatable response is that I actually we've been in business for a long time, right? We've been in business since 2012. And because we've done all these different custom approaches, which was the mistake we were repeating over and over again, is saying, okay,
mhm,
what do you need? And then just repackaging what we're offering. Me having come in from sort of a different point of view to the coaching world, I was like, wait, we actually kind of keep offering the same thing but calling it something else
mhm.
and tweaking a few little. So I was like, what are the reoccurring offerings that we're giving over time that people keep wanting from us? Right. So I looked at that with my business partner, what they kept asking of us. And then we looked at ourselves and said, what difference do we want to make in the world? And where do those two worlds come together? Where do those
Great
two things
questions. I
come
love
together?
that.
Yeah. And that's how we came up with our TLC and in the game.
Amazing. I love it. Let's think about your clients. So tell me, if you can think, what separates the clients who get the most out of working with you
Mhm.
from the ones who maybe don't, or the clients that end up being maybe help
Fired.
you think through the mistakes or become the mistakes that help you figure out your offer and all those things.
So I think there is obviously coachability that comes to
Mhm,
play here. The thing that I like to look at, or the way I like to talk about coachability in that sense of the client, is how willing are they to build trust in the process, right? Trust in where they want to go with their journey. And it's difficult. Like you'll get to a point, and this is where again coaching get for me is very, very clear. I have had clients where they get to a certain point in the coaching process where they're blocked. They cannot
mhm.
move forward. And it's
Yep.
not because they don't want to. It's not because of anything that I actually can do. It's because of the past. Something that happened maybe in their childhood, some kind of trauma that's unresolved, which I have a little bit of skill and training on that, but I'm not a therapist. And I want to
Mhm,
be very clear on that separation is therapy is when you're blocked through your past and you cannot move beyond that point because it's in your brain somewhere, right? It's something that a therapist needs to fix. And so I will work hand in hand with them if they want to do it parallel or they go away and figure out their therapeutic things that they need to figure
mhm.
out and then they can come back and continue with the coaching. Coaching is about moving forward. And if you're unwilling to move forward and you think you have all the answers, then you don't need a coach. That's just how
Yeah.
it is. And that's what makes a, let's say, learning opportunity for me
Mhm,
is being quicker in identifying who's unwilling, unable to move forward versus the people that want to. And that's what makes a good client. I think that my favorite clients actually are those that are in, for instance, IT or in something where you need to use that part of your brain that's more mathematical and
mhm,
than the emotional side because they really enjoy bringing the two together and saying, okay, I'm working on my, let's say, weakness, but it's not. It's just a part of their brain that they're not usually accessing because they don't need it for work, right? Those are also people that are, the best salespeople and then go into become the manager. They're like, wait, this is not the same job. Just because I'm good at sales doesn't make me a good sales manager, right? We all know that.
exactly.
We all know that. And so that's giving them access through coaching to the part of the brain that they just haven't had any training in or haven't had any opportunity to challenge and doesn't make the best clients. Yeah.
Yeah. It's to me, it's fascinating that you brought up the topic of, some people may end up needing therapy, because that's come up on so many of other calls that I've had for this podcast. I mean, we've had sales coaches, speaking coaches, other book coaches, and health coaches, and it comes up. It's come up so often that there's that line that we have to think about. I never would have said that for my own like book coaching that I do. It never would have said I'm going to have to think about, like, okay, can I help this person anymore, or is this a them issue that's more than book coaching now? And it
Yeah.
gets blurred, I think, in health coaching and other things. But then, yeah, even business coaching and leadership coaching. It's fascinating to me that that's still comes up. I think it's such an interesting, and I don't know how much more there's to say other than it's interesting, but I like that you brought it up because it's such a it's a thing that coaches have to be aware of. They have to be aware of, how am I going too far into this? Am I trying to therapize someone when, okay, they're just beyond coaching, and then I need to tell them that. But I think it's, to me, it's fascinating that how often that's come up.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's irresponsible almost to try to, because
Yeah.
therapists, they have to go through the certain qualifications to be a certified therapist, and there's a reason for that, right? And I'm
Hmm.
not gonna do my client any favors by pretending like I know how to be a therapist.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I don't wanna carry that. Like, I did look into psychology and therapy at one point in my learning and career, or my university time,
Hmm.
and having spoken to many therapists, I have very high empathy, and therefore I carry a lot of the feelings and emotions of others, which is another thing I had to learn in coaching to be able to let go. But
Hmm.
as a therapist, I don't think I would be able to be a good therapist because of that, which is why I went to coaching.
Yeah, and it makes sense. I've had to learn and practice with that as well, like letting it go if they're taking a long time with their book, or if they're not putting it out there, and I'm like, oh, but I want to come in and like fix it. Again, going back to what we were talking about at the beginning, I
Yeah,
want to fix this. I want to help them through it. I want to grab them and throw them towards it. But that's not what coaching is, and I've
yeah.
slowly, had to learn that throughout the years. But yeah, Christina, if you could tell me, what's the hardest lesson you've had to learn as a coach throughout your 12 years of experience?
I think the hardest lesson, besides, being able to hold up the mirror to my own face, that's a pretty hard lesson sometimes.
Hmm.
I think is that I can't the hardest reality maybe is less than a lesson. Not really a lesson, it's just that I can't help everyone, and I wish I could. Like, I wish that I had all the time in the world. I wish I could give my time away for free all the time, and things like that, but I can't, and that's just a hard truth, a hard reality, about what I do, which is why we're looking at scaling. Yeah.
Yeah, and has that come in the form of you having to tell people no, or is it more that you try to be better about filtering leads, or what does it look like?
Uh, I think it is about better finding a target audience that really will get the most out of what you're offering,
Yeah,
as opposed to trying to help everyone. But I think where it really pains me the most is like with, young startups that don't have the funding and
yeah,
really need the coaching, or, being able to see where you could help someone and they're not ready for it. Just different. It's not necessarily about a process, it's more about an emotional reality of certain situations. Yeah.
yeah. And I imagine that's really like, I'm just thinking of coaches listening to this that go like, yes, that is hard for me to turn someone down when I see, oh, I could really help them.
Yeah.
And you're doing this as part of your business, right? You're doing this to put food on the table potentially. Like most coaches, you have to turn people away because you can't help everyone. I mean, that's a great
Exactly.
lesson.
Yeah. Yeah.
That I think every coach has to learn in their own way, besides just hearing it on a podcast. But I love it as like a good thing to think about and remember because yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's why it's so important to get your ideal client profile, like, down
Hmm.
to a T as a coach, and just sort of where you wanna navigate. So do the work on yourself first as a coach too, right?
Hmm.
Even though we're helping others, and I know the first time I was being coached by a real professional coach, I was like, "Hey, that's my question to ask. I don't wanna answer this to you. Like, I don't wanna be vulnerable." But it's important that you're able to do what you're offering as a coach and understand why it's important to be the way that you're showing up.
Yeah. Well, talk to me a little bit more about that too. That I like to dig into that. You know, you just said what you've been learning with your coaching. So, what has being on the other side of that when you put on the other hat when you're being coached? Talk to me about that experience and then tell me how that has helped you become a better coach.
Yeah. I think exactly as I said, to me, it felt very humbling to be
Hmm.
coached as opposed to me being the coach, in the sense that I feel like my coach was asking a lot of me, and asking me to be honest and vulnerable and reflecting it back. And I was like, wait, that's not what I said. And like,
Yeah.
I would correct and pedal back. And I was like, oh, hold on a second here. And I'm a verbal processor. So I will talk, 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 talk. And then sometimes I catch myself saying the things that are the heart, like the truth that hurts,
Hmm.
right? I was like, wait, saying that out loud. Yes, I've thought it before, but I've never said it out loud and just hits you different. So those are the things that I had got a lot of appreciation for, and also learned to think, okay, how is this person, my client? How is this leader processing themselves? It's not going to be like me
Yeah.
necessarily. And of course, we do all the profiling. And so I have a bit of an understanding, but seeing the truth of how they're really processing it. Some people need, like, from one session to the next to really reflect and journal and write down and experience the things they said or we discussed in the coaching session, right, for themselves before they truly believe it. Whereas I'm a verbal processor, right? For example, just to compare. So I don't need to say it out loud and it hits me in the face like a slap.
Yeah, and I feel like that's such a cool part about what we get to experience and learn as coaches, right? We get to experience, oh, this person's different, this person's different. Like really see those differences really out there,
Yeah.
and we're exposed to that. And it's yeah, there could be some
Mm.
eye-opening stuff that we learn about ourselves, but and people in general too. So
Yeah. 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 And exactly. And so I think that having not had the opportunity to sit on both sides really gave me a lot of maybe softness
oh
to
yeah.
how I want to navigate things and allowing people to be at their own pace, but also knowing, when I need to be tougher as a coach to on them because they need it and things like that. So yeah,
Yeah, it
very
makes sense.
interesting.
If we could switch to like this is something I know all coaches are interested in because they're working at growing their business. So what has been the most successful strategy for you in growing this business and finding people in finding your ICP, right? And finding like that. What has worked the best for you?
I think what's worked the best for me, well, I mean, easier said than done, but just doing the work and making the
Hmm.
mistakes is trying trial and error and just not being scared to fail. I think that's where I started really appreciating my lack of poker face,
Yeah.
because my lack of ability to not be authentic and transparent. Because I was like, hey, if I'm if I'm crap at this, tell me. If you're not resonating with what I'm saying, please just tell me, because I want to be the best coach I can be. And I was still open to adapting to what I was seeing patterns around. As a coach, I think that's one of my strengths as well, is to be able to recognize patterns very quickly. And if people aren't being honest with me, then I can't see the patterns that I need to see for myself as a business owner, right? Which
Hmm.
is critical when you're a service provider. So yeah, no, yeah, it's getting feedback as much as you can, even when it hurts,
Hmm.
and
That's a
doing the
good
work,
one. Yep.
finding people that, I like doing pro bono when I'm like testing something new, just to see the feedback. And I do it with people that really truly need it, not just my friends, but people that truly, truly need it. And the way that they're paying is by giving me honest feedback and referrals if they have any, if they loved
Yeah.
it. Sorry, when they loved it.
Yeah. I love what you said there about asking for the feedback even when, like, part of you is like, "Oh, I don't really wanna hear this," or 'cause I feel like that is so difficult, right? If you have a client where you're like, "Ah, this isn't going maybe as well as I thought or I wanted it to," but instead of just being like, "Oh, it's on them," taking a step back and acting like someone who's learning the coaching experience, like, "No, let me ask that feedback." So I love that you kind of highlighted that because that is hard. I yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes it is on them, and
Yeah.
sometimes we
True.
know it is on them. But the truth is that, why is it on them? That's the hard question to ask. Like, what did I not do
Mhm.
to get them to a place where they didn't fall into that trap, right? Where they didn't want to show up for themselves. And so I think there's always a way to keep improving, even if it's easy to say, "Hey, no, it was on them." Like, they didn't do the work. So,
Yep.
it's so easy to say, "Okay, I wash my hands of it. They didn't do the
Mhm.
work." That's it, right? Because rule number one as a coach is that the client has to do the work, right? That is just how it is, probably in for writing books as well. You can't write the book for them fully.
Even
They
when
have
I do the full ghostwriting,
Yeah, right?
okay, I'm writing the book, but you have to be involved. You have to be
Exactly.
in the document.
Exactly.
I'm not the ghostwriter that goes away and comes back in 6 months, say, "Here's your book."
There you go.
You don't want that.
Ready to go.
Yeah, so exactly.
Yeah,
It's a
so they do have to
they're
do the
involved.
work. That said, it's your job to create a situation where doing the work for them is what they're looking forward to, right? And they're excited about it and it makes sense for them and it's really for them. Yeah. So there's always ways to learn how to do that better as a coach, I think.
Christina, what's the one thing you wish someone had told you about running a coaching business before you started?
I don't know if this is concrete to a coaching business per se. I think it's relevant to running any business, but it's about how much of yourself you need to give to the start, right? When you're first starting a business, I think it's all about just your soul and your heart and your effort, and because you're leading this idea that comes from you, right? You're leading this mission that's coming from you. So if you're not going to
Hmm.
put it put in leave everything on the table, if you're not going to leave everything on the table, then why would anyone else want to be involved in that mission? Because you need to inspire. And yeah, I think it's very scary at first. And I wasn't ready for that because I have a
Hmm.
background in sales, right? I could sell anything to anyone. It didn't matter, right? Like I could find ways to get a no from a no to a yes
Hmm.
for create some need, create an understanding of like, this is who you are. This is what I'm talking to you about. Do you see the connection, right? And I love doing that because it's about understanding what makes people tick, and not in like a manipulative kind of way, but in like a psychological. I really loved the psychology of like understanding how to get someone to understand that I wouldn't call people for things they didn't need either, right? So it's not like that.
Hmm.
I called them because I knew they're in a niche that needed what I was offering. So I found that very interesting, and I knew I could sell. I know I have the training, I had the experience, but then say selling myself, right?
Hmm.
Selling my own ideas, selling my own things. If someone rejects that, it's not like, oh, I have to get like five, four, nine, four zeros, sorry, four no's to get to
Hmm.
one yes, right? Like, no, no, the four no's, they really hurt your heart. Like they really
Yeah.
hurt in the soul. And I was not prepared for that. Yeah.
I, I That's so interesting because yeah, I feel like I have never heard someone describe it like that. But right as you were saying it to me, that made total sense because it's like if you put if you're trying to sell like a product, you're right. Like those no's aren't as impacting as as impact as we are as service providers. Because yeah, as much as you want to say, because I have not a deep sales background, but a little sales background myself. Is as much as you want to say like, oh yeah, get the nose. But like it still hurts. It absolutely hurts and impacts you because they
Yeah.
are rejecting you and your service and working with you. I mean, even if it's like, even if you would say like, okay, well, it's a not right now. They'll come back to you. You can be as positive as you want about it. It still hurts.
It
Like,
still hurts. It still
yeah,
really hurts. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and but, like, I guess in retrospect now when I think about it, and it being a lot clearer on what I'm doing, right,
Hmm.
with my business, which is again why it's so important to get clarity on that and not just try anything, is because if someone's really a no, then I'm actually okay with it now because I'm like, okay, then that means I can talk myself out of it and it doesn't hurt my soul as much. It makes me feel like, okay, just they're not ready, and I know
Hmm.
exactly why they're not ready or they're not a
Hmm.
good fit for it. And so it hurts a lot less. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really like that. That's a great tie back or callback and tie into that the foundation piece and figuring that out and figuring out your ICP.
Yeah.
If you're getting 10 no's from your ICP, then rethink. Maybe you need to rethink things or rethink like we were discussing, or maybe you need to hire a sales coach. There's something going on there if you're clear, but if you're not clear, it has a tendency to hurt more, and maybe it can hurt more because there's some confusion there. It's like, well, no one's buying me. But like, yeah, eventually, if you understand, if you have that foundation piece, eventually, yeah, of course, someone's going to buy for you because you're trying to help them and you have a service for that. Like, there's going to be a fit. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also that piece that we mentioned about the I can't remember what exactly the question was, but about learning to not be the solution to their
hmm.
problem.
Hmm.
I think that it gets a lot more powerful and easier to not be, let's say, when
Hmm.
you're clear on your why, what your impact is, and what is the ROI of the coaching that you're offering, because you're not trying to just dig for solutions and be the hero of the conversation. You're like, no, no, this is the journey that we're going to be on together. And the outcome is still what we had put in the contract. At the beginning, it's probably going to change, but it's
Hmm.
no longer about me. It's about their journey and the one that I'm facilitating and coaching them through. Right. So I feel like that makes it a lot less about I tried really hard and I tried to find the solution right now. So I perform less, right? I have to perform less when I'm trying to sell the program.
Yep.
I
Yep.
know what it is. I've practiced it. It's in my head. I've seen proof that it works. All these different things all add up to creating a lot more strength in being able to talk about what I do and why I do it and why it's important and why they have to say yes to me. Otherwise, it's on them.
Yeah, yeah. Come on, say yes to me. I
Like,
love that.
you're gonna say yes because if
Yeah.
you don't,
No. All right, Christina, we're getting close to the end of the podcast, but this is my favorite question I get to ask people because I always want to make sure that people that come on the show have a chance to say what they really care about and to talk about that. So if you have a soapbox, please feel free to stand on it. And if not, then you could just share whatever is on your heart and mind with us that you're thinking about today.
what do you mean by soapbox?
Soapbox meaning something that just either drives you crazy or in your industry, or if you're thinking, I have to tell people this, like everyone in the world of coaching or in the world of whatever should know this. And it's something you
Okay.
really care about, something very passionate about.
I think so. My mission is to have no more bad bosses, right? That's my big overarching mission.
I love
And
that. That phrase is amazing.
I think it's so critical. We spend so much time of our life working either with someone else, for someone else, doing something that pay the bills. It doesn't matter what we're doing, but we're investing a lot of time. And in my dream mind, my dream vision, everyone is showing up on Monday excited, loving that they get to be here and get to do this and get paid for it, right? And
Hmm.
knowing that their strengths, their weaknesses, all these different things is a safe place to develop because you have a great boss who sees you and who wants the best for you, and that everyone gets that if you build the people will build the business. Right? That's our slogan. And I think that that's the thing I'm really trying to accomplish with all the blood, sweat, and tears that I'm putting into to growing the organization. That's the one thing. And I guess on a flip side, the other thing is that it's always when I ask people like what's the problem? What is your issue in your organization? I can go straight away and say, and why is it a leadership issue? Right?
Hmm.
What's your biggest problem and why is it leadership? Because it is. It just always is.
Hmm.
However, to all the coaches out there, you can't sell it as a leadership issue. You can't
Yeah.
say you're the problem and let me fix you because that's people don't want to hear that yet. They're not ready to hear that yet. You have to build the trust first. And I think leaders eventually become through the coaching program as well, they see sort of what they can do and how important coach or leadership is in an organization as a responsibility. It's not a position. It's not a position.
Hmm.
It's not a paycheck. It's not a promotion. It's a responsibility. And I think it's just so much bigger than people give credence to the title.
No,
So
I
that's
love that. I think that's a great soapbox to stand on. Great. Like I love all of that. So thanks for sharing that. All right, Christina, thank you so much for being on the show. Last question here. Where can people find you, connect with you? Where is best?
best place is on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And we also have a website, floatfiero.com. So feel free to check it out. I'm starting an Instagram page at some
Amazing.
point called the theme's going to be mirror, mirror on the wall. What can I not see, but it's clear to all?
Ooh, okay. Okay. I'm intrigued by that. I'm gonna follow along with that for sure. I love it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much
Awesome.
for having me,
Yeah.
Jordan. And thanks for
Yeah.
the opportunity to share.
Amazing. I really appreciated the conversation. Thanks again.
Great.
Are you still here listening to this podcast? You're awesome. I got two CTAs for you. Number one, subscribe to this podcast for more. And number two, have you ever thought about writing a book? Contact Jordan. He can help you out. Jordan at jamring.com.